Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another anime review. We are reviewing episode 2 of The Beginning After the End, also known as TBATE. I am Richie Roberts. I am joined by Moonlight Sparks,
Hi.
who has read at least half of the series. I think it's
Just
fair to
about,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And Fenris Arun,
I
who is an anime only. So we've got very different perspectives because I'm towards the end of stuff. I'm in somewhere around the middle of volume 11. So I'm not
He's at the
current.
middle of the end, not the beginning.
Yeah, sure. Fucking whatever. Um, More stuff for me to cut out. Fine. Um, I was on track to like continue, and now I've forgotten everything. Thank you so much.
you were at the point of saying that you were towards the end of something.
I was in the middle of volume 11, which is towards the end
hmm
of the actual story. Uh, so yeah, we have very different perspectives on these episodes, uh, and the source material for some. But first up, Fedris, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Just going in fresh, I'm wondering what you thought about this.
It was pretty damn good. Like, it did not feel like 20 minutes passed. It felt like I was only watching for like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Even though not much was going on, it was all mainly exposition and background stuff. And honestly, I'm all here for it.
Yeah. I will say this: there was a lot more cut out this episode than there was from the previous episode. Um,
Was there?
yeah, there was.
Because, like, thinking about it, after the house got rebuilt,
Mm-hmm.
they did try to do some teaching. It was a bit longer than what they had shown, but eh. Um, and then it was a thing of, we need to get him an actual tutor. And then the parents did argue.
Yeah,
Like,
up to
they
this
shortened it, yeah, but it still hit all the
no no
points.
up to this point, up to that point that you've talked about, it's kind of on par with what happened in the series. But there is a lot more that was. I mean, it was shaved off because it was technically unnecessary. But I'm also a little bit mad that we didn't get our explanation of the magic system.
Well, we've got a small bit of it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if it's gonna do more again next time
Yeah,
and give more lines to who we will just call Grandma.
grandma. Yeah, the puppy owner.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there is a post-credit scene this episode. Please make sure if you didn't catch that, go back and rewatch. After the credits, it's not a. This is what's happening next episode. No, they're like, here's the post-credit scene. This happens. All right, look forward to next episode. That's kind of where we're at on that.
Yep.
But yeah, there was more stuff. It was more. It was more like, again, they cut out more of the dialogue that was more comedic in nature, which
Mm.
made the tone of certain things way more serious than I think it needed to be at certain times. Also, like they didn't in the original source material, they didn't like hype up the whole pregnancy thing, which I think was better. Like they didn't
Mhm.
throw hints about her pregnancy. Like when it was revealed, it was a surprise to everyone. The reader and Arthur alike were caught off guard. Wait, what? Because there were no clues to
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So I get why they did it. I just prefer the other one. It's not like I hated this episode. It's like, no, I understand the choices that they made. And I'm just sitting here like, I would have, like, not. I would have done this instead. Just made the actual surprise a proper surprise for both the audience and Arthur. Also, because Gray would have caught on to these things and figured that stuff out. That's why I'm like, this just makes Gray seem a little less attentive than he perhaps actually is.
I don't think it was that he was less attentive. It was just that he didn't quite pick up on the signs as fast as some other. Like, because he noticed them. They
Mm-hmm.
made a point to show that he did notice them.
And that's
And that's
that
like even before the little cutback scene.
and
So,
that's what I'm getting at is like the difference between the comic and the novel version of Arthur versus the anime version of Arthur, he would have picked up on those signs. I feel
Eh,
that's
I don't
that's the
know
vibe
because
I'm
this
getting
is
from Arthur at this
still
point.
well,
Was
this is
he
still
ever
early.
exposed to a pregnant woman before or anything like
No,
that in his past life?
as far as we know, no.
As in, like, well, here's the thing: does he know how pregnancy works and all that stuff? Yes.
But does he know
Did
about,
he
like the
have
morning
someone?
sickness or the symptoms?
I have no idea, dude. He was single for his entire life. That's what I do know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that doesn't just because he's single doesn't mean he hasn't been around pregnant women before.
Yeah, and just because someone knows how an airplane works doesn't mean they're gonna know what's wrong with it if something's going off. Does that make sense?
No,
It's got
because
a better in my head.
yeah, that's not an apt comparison because there's
Simple,
way
simple
more.
Moon. The plane's not working because it's out of uwu juice.
Well, but
That okay, yeah.
look, he hasn't had to be around anything like that like ever. I would still say early Arthur, even in the books, wouldn't
Okay,
quite catch on to it
we're
immediately.
assuming we are both assuming each option. We're assuming that he's never been you are assuming that he's never been around that in his previous life, whereas I'm assuming that he has. So either way, it's just context it's no, it's not
Conjecture
contextual.
at this point.
Conjecture, that's the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just conjecture at this point. We don't know. But the vibe that I got from the books is a bit more like I think Arthur would have picked up on that, in if that had been hinted at to that degree. I mean,
Mm.
I also I'm kind of arguing against less on Arthur and more on the audience. I felt it worked better if it was just a straight out surprise, like we didn't get that hint. I liked it better that way in the books. I'm not saying what they did was wrong. It's just I prefer that version. That's all.
I mean, to be
Yeah.
fair, I was taking notes throughout this episode,
Yeah.
and one of the notes was, "Mom is pregnant."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the other thing. All right. So another note that I will take into consideration. I can't wait for it to come out because I want to reread or re-listen to this. But with the music this time, that has been the biggest like improvement out of all of this is like having an actual score accompanying all
Mhm.
this. I like that. I'm still not used to. I guess it's because of how I read it. I'm not used to thinking of it as Gray's voice when Arthur starts thinking. I'm used to thinking of it as just Arthur. Like he's just Arthur. And Gray is like this life he used to have. But like they are definitely hammering home the Gray side of stuff and adding content that we didn't get in the other two things, which is more backstory about him as king, just killing like a family essentially. Like that, I do not remember.
Yeah, nothing like that was ever talked about, but it's like,
But I mean, you like you see it and you're like, yeah. If you've read any of the source material,
yeah.
comics or otherwise, you're like, I'm not surprised that happened. You know, it does show how much of a heartless bastard Gray was. You know.
I mean, he kind of had to be, from what I'm understanding from the first
Yes.
episode.
Yeah. And everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's so sci-fi and everything." We get that top-down view of the city with all the air traffic flowing over it, and you realize, oh, yeah, it's not horribly different from what we know. So it is a version of Earth. From what we've been told, it's a version of Earth that is further in the future than we are. Well, yeah. And because they don't explain this properly in the show, I think it's best if we kind of explain it here so it'll have some context. Wars are not waged by armies anymore. They're waged by kings, and you have to fight your
Yeah,
way to
in
the
that
top
other
and kill
world,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. You have to kill your way up to becoming the king. So, like, the king is a title that is earned, and you are basically a symbol for that country. So, imagine anytime two countries have a dispute that can't be handled diplomatically, you send essentially, like, the president to fight the other president.
Why can't we do that in real life?
I kind of would love to see Trump versus Putin, not to be, not to be crass, but that'd be hilarious, I think.
I mean, imagine all the lives that would be saved by just duking it out between leaders.
I was just saying that would be a fun little like we just make it like a big UFC thing. We put ads all over it. We like that's how we fund the American economy. We just started UFC thing
That's how we
between
get
yeah.
out of the deficit.
Yeah, exactly. We just fund the economy through UFC fights between our leaders. Why not? Why not? But no. All joking aside, that is kind of the situation of how things work in the other world, and it wasn't really touched on in the anime. And I hope this gives a little extra context. Uh, the fight stuff, uh, not nearly as interesting as it appeared to be in my head. And I think that is the style of animation that they're doing. You know, you don't see a lot of necessarily action. You see a lot of still frames of action that are being panned across, as opposed to like actual choreographed movement and stuff like that. So once again, this episode and the previous episode just kind of feel like a more of a motion comic than an actual anime to me. There's
Yeah, there's a lot of
Way the
still
House
images.
yeah. I'm like, dude, if we just wanted to make a motion comic, we could have just made a motion comic, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm still kind of iffy on the animation, but everything else I'm here for. Like, yeah, I'm so for it. There's not too much difference in the story. It's just that, you know, as is typical with the anime, it moves fast. It moves way faster. And in the comic and the novels, you get more internal monologue from Arthur. I did miss a couple of the lighter moments, like when Arthur introduced himself and Adam was all like, "Are you sure this is your kid? He's way too polite to be your kid, Reynolds." And I'm
That's
like,
what was missing.
yeah. there's just the small little it's these in when you transition over to a different medium, some things will get lost inevitably. But it's those little small moments that kind of make the characters feel more real and come to life. I really do want to have a thing at the end where we just sit down with like the comic or something and just go through the comic and talk about the difference between the anime and the comic or whatever. Like I think that would be good. Yeah. We kind of sort of did that last week after recording by just showing some of the differences between the two between the anime and the comic. Yeah. I mean, there's things in the comic that are lost from the light novel. It's gonna happen regardless, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My biggest negative point was that the fight with the bandits didn't seem nearly as intense, and also there's the whole fact that they did cut out a major point, which was in the original. Alice actually does just go ahead and heal Reynolds' wound, and that's when the bandits all shift their attention to her.
Yep.
And so everybody has to start protecting her, and Arthur runs away with her. Also, we didn't see him drag what's his name over, the guy that he wrapped up in the rope or the string or whatever. And okay, so my memory may be a little hazy here, so I might need your help here, Moon. In the version that I remember, there wasn't necessarily a string or anything attached to the knife. If I remember correctly, that was a
It was his
thread?
mana.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a mana thread.
Okay, so I'm not losing my mind. It was mana.
No,
thread.
you're not.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
when she said there's a rope in it, and I'm like, what?
What?
Why is there a rope in it? And then he threw the knife and everything, and I'm like, no, that was supposed to be mana.
Yeah, I don't like that change.
They're nerfing my boy.
I do not like that change at all.
I don't either.
All
Because, and another thing, he was able to tell kind of on feeling like what kind of conjurers and stuff they had around.
Yeah. If we do not at all this season get an explanation on the magic system, I'm gonna be really thoroughly mad.
Yeah.
Like the magic system is a huge part of the story for a long time.
And like it's why he can do a lot of the amazing stuff he does. They showed off some of it without explaining, which was kind of cool. But the whole augmenting his legs so he could move faster. that was like, that's cool. That is something that actually happened. But
So
why'd
I
you take
will.
out the mana thread?
Yeah. So the other thing that I will say is, and this is specifically for Fenris, the color of the magic being used when they show magic in this anime actually matters. Like
Okay.
those of us who have read from either piece of the source material, comic or novel, we know we know about the different elemental types, and they did at least cover like the healing magic, the emitter stuff. That is a very rare type of magic. Not every, it's not like people all over the place can heal. It's very rare. So
I picked up on that.
yeah, there are more things that we're gonna learn. Hopefully, if they do everything right, you'll learn about the monocore system, how that is graded. You'll learn about the different types of magic, things like that. But honestly, I think by now we have basically in the both in the comic and in the novel we had learned about all those things. So I'm a little disappointed they didn't cover that. I was looking forward to
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
The only thing I could think could possibly happen now is that they're gonna let either grandma or grandpa, possibly at worst, which it would suck if they waited all the way to grandpa.
No,
But
I honestly think it's going to be Gramps, but there is a chance that it could be Grandma.
I kind of hope it's grandma because that would make a lot more sense.
Also, if you've read ahead, you know what we're talking about. But if you're anime only, yeah, we're doing this on purpose. We're calling them Gramps and
Yes.
Grandma on purpose to just not spoil anything. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's
And
does he meet his
also, thank
grandparents?
you,
We
Turtle
don't know.
Me, for doing that. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it makes it way
Also, if
easier.
they don't have that moment in the anime, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, if they don't have that moment of describing like the monocore system and all that stuff, yeah. Also, yeah,
Oh, that's not the moment I was
this
talking
episode
about.
moved. Oh, I know what moment you're talking about, but like, I'm trying to go back to the previous thing. All right. So, lastly, any final thoughts on this episode? Because I gave my kind of meh view. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. That's where I'm at. I will say this. I will say this. At least I can say with 100% assurity, now that I've seen 2 episodes of this, nowhere near as bad as the animation for Tower of God season 2.
I'll let Moon go first because I like I
Ah,
said, I was taking notes on stuff.
Yeah. But I think part of the reason why it's not as bad is because they're not actually showing a lot of motion.
fair.
Yeah. The characters aren't moving around and stuff. They're not doing much.
Which it also kind of
Which hurts.
sucks.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like, I wish Turtle Me had held out for a better animation studio. I honestly do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, we've given our thoughts essentially, uh, aside from Fenris. So go ahead, Fenris. Your final
Oh,
thoughts.
I was waiting for Moon because I haven't heard his thoughts on it.
Oh, okay. Moon, go ahead.
Thoughts on what specifically? Just the animation or all of it?
Just the episode.
I mean, it it was all right. I like we kind of went over before. I understand why he wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that she was pregnant, and I'm like, okay, but I also do agree like it would have just been better if it was a total surprise.
Mm.
Like no hints whatsoever, and just suddenly it's like you have to protect your mom and your sibling. My what?
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been so much
It hits
better.
a lot harder that way. I feel like it's like we're all like it's so the audience and
And
us are all
especially when it
saying like
gets to the
what?
whole thing of now have a reason or
Mm-hmm.
much more of a reason, and it's like it hits much harder for him because it's
Yeah.
like not only do I have a mom and a dad that I want to protect, I have a sibling. Because this kid grew like Gray was originally an orphan. They did show that. They also did kind of a decent job of showing that like no one else really liked him. He was kind of trained and made to be this badass king.
Yes and
So
no.
like
Yes and no.
just talking about what's been shown.
I know. I know.
Yeah. But Yeah, and so he's never had any sort of family for reals at all, and now that he has this, and also that is something I'm kind of missing. Like it's
The
there's
heart.
not as much heart.
Yeah, the heart. That's what it is. The heart of all these different characters is definitely missing. This does. This kind of feels like a.
Cliff
What's
notes.
yeah, this feels like a Cliff Notes version or best of moments kind of thing.
And it's
That's the thing that
really
Mushoku
upsetting.
Tensei had going for it. Honestly, is like the characters were well fleshed out, and you gave a shit about them. You know, it was so well done. Man, why couldn't the same studio that got Mushoku Tensei get this? They could have killed it. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, your
So,
final thoughts.
yeah. First and foremost, fucking, they had their own version of Chocobos. That makes me so happy.
The
Fair.
lizards. Okay.
I saw them. I'm like, oh my god, yes. Now they just need to do their little like Chocobo cry and run off into the distance.
All right,
But
continuing.
you know, I have to say, I love how Arthur used fucking common sense at the beginning of this episode.
Oh,
Mm.
His mom, well, aside from his mom being hilarious and super adorable with how she treats Arthur and all that,
yeah.
but
He needs a
the
mentor. I
way,
don't want to let him go. Why don't we all
e-
go?
e-
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
Like just the fact they're fighting over about that, and Arthur's
that
just like,
that was also actually
come
in the book.
on.
That's what's
Yeah,
funny.
that wasn't the original. I just felt like it was. I felt like it was done better in the original. Like it
hmm
It's
something.
still, it's
It
just like,
all right. So the anime isn't bad. It just feels like there's something missing, and I think it's the heart of this anime is what's missing. Sorry, continue.
it was just the fact that for once, a protagonist uses fucking common sense.
Maybe
Arthur
that's his
does a lot of that,
superpower.
honestly.
Maybe that's his superpower. But
Maybe.
to be fair, his common sense does get him in a lot of trouble too.
They need to make that another isekai in another world with fucking common sense.
Also, by the way, if we are getting the masked version of Arthur, that means we're also getting the parts where a bit of King Gray leaks out of Arthur when his emotions get the best of him. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm cautious about it.
The auction house is specifically what I'm referring to.
I know.
Yep, yep. We'll see how it goes. If nothing else, what I said before of like going through like the comics, that's gonna be fun to do, because we may just do that. Uh, we may pick a day on the stream that most of us are available and just go through the comics and talk about them.
Mm.
Hmm. Who knows? All right. Sorry about that. Continue.
And then I was also got really jealous of Arthur for that nice hug he got.
I knew it.
hmm
I'm glad they kept that because that was a funny little joke that they
Me
had
too, but I
in there.
wish they would have had a lot more of his inner dialogue about it. It's like she had very large chests, and I was not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like, really,
it's
bro?
not just that. It's not just that. It's like instead of I can't. You see him struggling to try and
Oh yeah,
breathe
yeah.
so
It's
he
like
can
can't
breathe.
breathe,
Whereas
can't breathe.
whereas in this version he's just still. He's like I can't breathe.
He's
And I'm like
stoic, which is like,
motherfucker.
come on,
This is
so much funny.
the there's too much of there's too much of like aspects of the characters that are being left to the wayside, and we
hmm
don't even have like good enough action scenes to make up for that. You know, like we're not seeing like really good in motion action. We're seeing comic panels that the camera is panning around, and
I'm worried.
yeah, same.
I don't know if I want to. Well, this could probably get cut out, but I'm worried that the animation studio is not giving this source material the respect it deserves purely
Hmm.
because it's American.
No, that's fine. I'm not cutting that out. That might be part of it. I don't know. But also, this anime studio is not considered to be mid tier. It's like lower tier. So,
Hold on.
all right, continue on, Fenris. Sorry.
Oh, that's all I had.
Okay. And Fenris, you and I are familiar with this animation studio. They've done at least one or two things that we've seen, and the stuff that we saw, we were like, yeah, it was okay. You know, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't good either. It was just like, eh. I mean, sadly, the stories seemed interesting, but like the animes were more or less forgettable, and that was my fear going into this. And I mean, it's starting to look like more of the same, you know? So the animation is not up to snuff, and the personalities of a lot of the different characters have been toned down. So I don't know. I mean, for the content of this episode, I think they did pretty well. It felt rushed, but that could just be because it's, you know, an anime versus like a comic or a
Yeah.
novel. That could be part of it.
Remind me what other anime this studio did?
Oh, dude. Oh, why are you gonna make me look it up? I can't look it up right now. You'll have to do it
What
because
studio
I've
was
got.
it?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't freaking remember anymore. I think it's. Oh, freaking. See, I used to know, but then I forgot it because other stuff has happened. Also, I haven't taken my ADHD meds today. I need to do that.
Oh, cat it or a
A
cat.
cat.
A cat, that's what it was. I knew there
Yeah.
was an A in it, but I kept going to A1, and I'm like, that's not the studio. Studio A cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what other show that they did. I think it might have been another fantasy or another isekai related thing, and it wasn't the dude. I would at this point I would even take the studio that did the or the aristocrat, the appraisal thing, the one
Yep.
where he can see everybody's desk, because that studio did a really good job with that series. I think it was well done.
They really did.
Yeah, I would have loved to have them on that. I mean, there's other studios that could have done this. It just felt like this anime got this content got the bottom of the barrel treatment, and you could be right. It
It
could be because it's originally from the U.S. I
yeah,
mean, it is
going
culturally
over
all around the world. The creator lives here in the U.S. Turtle Me is from the U.S. The up to season 6 of the comic, the manhwa was put on Tapas, which is technically a Korean-owned website, and it was drawn by an Indonesian artist. There's another artist that's
so
taken over from season 6. I don't know where they're from.
I'm a bit disappointed with this with Studio A Cat with this because they did have some decent anime. Like I've
Hmm.
somehow gotten stronger when I improved my farm related skills, or
Okay.
she professed herself pupil of the wise man,
They've
or
done one of the
even the strongest magician
Transformers.
in the Demon Lord's army was a human.
That was the one I remembered. Strongest magician of the Demon Lord's army is a human. Yeah, that's the one I remember them for.
Yeah,
And their animation wasn't terrible for that show. I mean,
no, it
I'm
was
all right.
pretty decent,
To be
and the
fair,
stories were pretty good.
to be fair, I haven't seen any CG in here yet, and I'm happy with that because I did
Well,
not.
the particles for the mana.
That's
I'm
understandable.
fairly certain the wolves were partially CG.
Yeah, they were.
Well, yeah, okay, there we go. But like all the monsters and everything in that Demon Lord's army one, um, there
Most of
was
those were
CG
CG, yeah.
everywhere. Like it was like in your face. It there's nowhere near the level of CG animation in this, which I'm glad for. All right. That being said, let's go ahead and give our ratings. We're gonna do what did we do last? We were gonna do the monospheres or the color of the monospheres, but they didn't explain monocore stuff this time around. So, out of did we do 1 to 10 or did we do 1 to 5? I can't remember.
Good question.
Yep. I I should have remembered who I was asking. None of us remember a week ago.
I
Let's
give
be
it
honest.
8 meat skewers.
Mm.
That's the only thing I can really remember from the episode.
Well, 8 monocores. I'm guessing is what you meant.
Oh no, the meat skewers
No.
when they were
Uh,
around the fire.
yeah, but I was specifically. I remember us talking last week about using monocores as
I mean,
our.
that's fair, but like you said, they haven't explained what the fuck they are yet. I'm
Well,
completely in the dark on this.
the monocore is just basic for us to use. Um, okay, I'll tell you after, since I don't think that the anime is going to, or at least they won't for a while, and it's kind of important information to have. I'll explain the monocore thing. But yeah, okay. So you gave it how many monocores?
I'm just giving it 8.
Okay, 8 monocores. Okay, Moon.
7.
Okay, I'm at kind of a 6 on this one. It's not bad, but it wasn't like really good either. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it was okay. It was a little more than okay. That's how I put it. So yeah, I'll give it 6 monocores. But we're interested in hearing what you guys think. Do you agree with us? Disagree with us? What points did we bring up that you would like to expand upon or whatever? Let us know in the comments. And guys, don't forget to give it a like. And if you like this content, of course, subscribe. But yeah, comments and likes really help us out with the algorithm, so we greatly appreciate that. And we'll be back with more of this when we finish up our next episode of why did I suddenly blank on on the Chinese anime from Japan? Apothecary Diaries. There we go. We'll be back with more Apothecary Diaries on the next review. See you then.